Hi, welcome back to my channel once again. There is always a battle between what we see and what is real. Our perceptions deceive us. What we see isn't always reality. And that's what we'll be exploring into the topic of reality and perception. So reality is objective truth, that is independent of our individual perspectives, while perception is our subjective interpretation of what reality is, which sometimes is influenced by our senses, by our experiences, and our biases. Citing an example with the mirage, when you're traveling on the road, on the highway, on a sunny day, and ahead of you, you see what seems to be like water. And as you're approaching, you're expecting to meet the water on the road, on that particular spot where you saw it from afar. But what happens? It dissipates. By the time you get there, there is nothing. Now, what your senses tells you at that point is there is water ahead. But by the time you get there, in reality, there is nothing. So you can see the battle between what our senses tells us and what reality is. So this goes to show how so many times we've judged things based on our senses, which might not be true in reality 100%. It also goes to show how our senses can also deceive us. Now, let me cite an example also. When you have a straight stick, for instance, and you dip it in a pool, you're inside a pool and you dip it inside the pool, that straight stick becomes bent. It becomes bent in the water. And by the time you look at it, your senses is telling you it's bent. But in reality, it is not. So there is a clash already between what is real and what you're seeing. So which one do you believe over which one? Is it the reality or what your senses tells you? And you see, this is how many of us have judged a lot of situations because of how we perceive them, which might not be in reality. Somebody might ask and say, why are we even discussing this? Because this is what we face daily in our interaction with people, in our social interpersonal relationship. We face this battle of reality and perception. Sometimes what you see is just what your senses is telling you, but not what it is in reality. And this must have led to some, conflicts, interpersonal conflict. Conflict in the place of work, conflict in our society, conflict in the nation, conflict between nations because of what our senses, what we feel at that point, what we see at that point, what we hear at that point, which in reality might not be so. So what do? We must learn to judge from different perspectives before coming to a conclusion, because our senses can deceive us. Yes, our senses can deceive us. Now, most of us think that the moon gives us light, but in actuality, it is not the moon that gives light by itself. So there are a lot of illusion, there are a lot of things that are not real in our society around us that we see every day, as we go by our daily activities, and we tend to judge, situations by them, and which might not be accurate, and we end up, falling or having conflicts. So we must learn to judge situations from different perspectives, judging things from different angles. In my other video I did where I showed what perspective is, how we view things. When you have two persons standing opposite end and you have the figure 9 written in between them, one person is saying 6, the other person is saying 9. And none of them might be saying wrongly, but then it is what they are saying at that point. So sometimes what we see is not in reality what it is. So let's learn to critically analyze situations, before concluding. And I also want to hear your thoughts, your opinion in the comment section. So I'll see you in my next video, and bye for now.